Respectively, they carry the 1 and 2 number plates. At round 1 in Okeechobee, Florida, they showed us why. After 3 hours and 72 miles, Maxxis Honda's Bill Balance was merely seconds better than Team Green Kawasaki's William Yoakley in an epic battle in the season opener. Today, the two rivals resumed their battle in round 2. The action is next on Fox Sports Net. Welcome to the Rebel Run. It's round 2 of the Grand National ATV Cross Country Series presented by Suzuki. Hello everyone, I'm Larry Myers. Welcome to round 2 coverage of the Grand National Cross Country Series here on Fox Sports Net. We're coming to you today from Paradise Park. That's just a few miles from the birthplace of a rock and roll legend, Little Richard. Now, Little Richard is not here today, but you know what? That's okay, because Little Richard, he knows diddly squat when it comes to ATV racing. Instead, we've got a guy, Mark Hyde, who, frankly, can't sing a lick, but he knows everything there is to know about cross-country racing. Former competitor and a real go-fast guy. Mark, what are we looking forward to seeing here today?
Well, you don't know that I can't sing. No, anyways, the riders after Florida, they supplied us with a great race down in Florida. We had 3 different leaders, and in the end, Bill Balance and William Yoakley, they had a lap and a half battle at the end. It was just outstanding. They passed numerous times, and they made it real interesting, and I hope that continues again this week.
You know, that's really not surprising. Balance, the defending champion, we almost expect him to win. But the emergence of a guy that finished 18th in the series last year, Seegott, that's what impressed me.
Yeah, Jeff, he comes from a 2-wheel motorcycle background, you know, as they talk about here in the ATV pits. So he has the motocross skills that he put to great use in Florida. Up here in Georgia, they're not going to have as much motocross in open spaces. We do have an excellent motocross track here with a lot of neat doubles and some rhythm sections, but the woods is where the race is going to be decided today. And along with those woods, the start is also going to be quite important.
Now, we know what Mark Hyde thinks about the racetrack. Earlier, we talked to some of the riders. Let's hear what they have to say.
This is more of my sort of style of racing. Back home we ride a lot of woods. The tighter courses are a lot better for me. The Okeechobee track went good. It's fast. You just sort of have to stay in the groove here. The track grooves out real deep and just stay in the gas.
Today's track's going to be tight through most of it. It's going to have a lot of track in through there that's going to be one line, and it's going to be important to stay with the guy in front of you if you are behind, because when you get into those sections, if you know, a guy may get a lap or two in between you and him, then it's good opportunities in certain sections where the lappers can't get over for the leader to pull out a minute or two in just a mile or two section, and that's something that's really important, staying with guy, whoever may be in front of you, if you're not in the lead.
Well, I think what it's going to take to do well at this track is just make sure that you just be nice and consistent. Don't get too heavy off the start. It's a long race. There's 2 hours. I hear it's pretty tight here. Actually, this is going to be my first time at this track. So my theory is just I'm going to follow until I feel comfortable with the track, and then I'll make my move.
Now, Mark, this is Paradise Park.
Yes, and today the riders, they have a lot of variety. We have the flat track, got a bunch of great woods, and the motocross track is really neat today.
It should be awesome. Now, standing by is Bob Walker, third member of our broadcast crew, with more on the track.
Georgia red clay. Last week the Okeechobee sand, this week the Georgia red clay. This area here may be flat right now, but throughout the day it's going to develop 2 to 3 foot deep ruts. ATVs are going to be coming through here. We're expecting over 400 bikes. Not only that, we have the Georgia woods. This tree root coming across the trail, for example, is going to become exposed after the first lap. Bikes are going to get stuck on this. It's going to become a real bottleneck for the pros.
Well, you want to talk about a mix, this racetrack has it all. There's red Georgia clay. We got some sand. We got some water. We got some mud. We got some stump. We got everything on this racetrack, including a kaolin mine. This is going to be for spectacular racing. And you know what? If Little Richard were here right now, you know what he would say?
No, what?
He'd say, wop, bop, a loo, bop, bamboo. Let's get it on. And we will when we come back. It's ATV racing on Fox Sports Net when we return. The Grand National Cross Country Series on Fox Sports Net is brought to you by Suzuki, by CD Boots, and by Honda with deals to move on. Hey, welcome back to GNCC Racing, presented by Suzuki. Riders around the line waiting for the completion of opening ceremonies, and that's Matt Smiley. He looks relaxed, Mart.
Yeah, he had a good race 5 days ago, ended up third for the day, which for Florida for him is a good ride.
It is indeed, and there's our champion, Bill Balance. Thumbs up. That just kind of sets the stage for him as we take a look at the starting lineup. Balance, of course, we've mentioned him. Who else do you think, as you look through this line, has a chance?
Oh, William Yoakley, after his performance in Florida, he's got to be right in there. Matt Smiley, he's going to be a contender. And if Chris Borich can nail a start, he'll be up there too.
Speaking of starts, it's a dead engine starts. Now watch the riders. Watch them. They are set to go. Would an electric starter help here, Mark?
We'll find out, because this Cannondale on the end right here has one.
And, well, he didn't get off the line fastest. I'm surprised. Up the hill. It looks like Balance is out front. There's Yoakley. That looks like Smiley running in third. Yep, let's give him second place, as a matter of fact. Oh! Little collision in the corner. That hurt Smiley.
Oh, I tell you, Chris Borich was in on that. Smiley got a little close to Balance, and Borich almost ended up with the back of the pack again this week.
And another bottleneck. Look at this. 6 riders have broken away, and behind them, the rest of the field kind of held up. Out front, it's Yoakley. Yoakley in second place. Balance is the leader, and running in third was Smiley, so he wasn't hurt all that bad. Look at this action right from the word go.
Yes, and Jeff Seegott's up there again. Chris Borich, the guys that were all the top players in Florida and the guys that I think will be the players in this series, they're all up there, so they weren't bothered by that bottleneck.
Good. That's good for us, good for racing, and good, of course, for what you're seeing at home as the rest of the field now is starting to catch up, moving single file. Here's a replay of a portion of the start.
Yeah, Balance, he got in there really nice. Smiley, he just gave him a little bit of a love tap, and it almost screwed up him. And Chris Borich, he did a great job of not going over on that one.
Borich, you know what? He had fallen, and he just didn't know it. Meanwhile, at the checkpoint, mile marker 6, here's Balance. He's the first rider through. Those little guns that they're zapping their helmet with are a way of keeping score. We should point that out. It allows the workers on the track to keep track of the riders while the race is going on and make sure they don't cut corners.
Yes, it's just like you go at the grocery store. It's got a little scanner in there, and they also feed that back to the pits, so everybody back in the pits knows what's going on out on the racetrack.
And there's a motorcycle tucked in behind the quads. A little bit later in the show, you'll see why, as we have video from the camera mounted on his helmet. It's our MotoCam. Meanwhile, Bill Balance still with the lead. Yoakley is not letting him get away through a really tricky part of the racetrack.
That's what the riders are going to really love this week. The course has a big variety. The speeds are way down, but the technical aspect of this course is going to be much higher than we had at the last race in Florida.
Now, because of the woods, it is not going to be quite as wide open, quite as fast. There's some water in that hole. Boy, that's going to be interesting when you try to make a pass there. But it's going to be, I think, from a viewer standpoint, a lot more interesting. You'll see how these guys are able to move through the trees and do it at speed. It's Yoakley and Smiley, and starting to put a gap on the rest of the field already here in lap 1.
Yeah, Bill Balance and William Yoakley, it looks like they've picked up right where they left off in Florida. The other guys, I'm a little surprised they're getting away this quick with some of the talent we have in this field.
Brian Baker back in 12th place. He was caught up in that bottle jam, and there's Seegott. He was not caught up in that jam, and he's running in 3rd place, but is off the pace. He'll have to pick up the pace in order to be a factor.
Yeah, and it's the first lap, and we know he's an excellent motocross rider. So when we get to that portion of the course, he'll be able to get a look at the leaders and maybe reel them back in.
We'll get a look at the leaders right now through our moto cam. He has fallen in behind. That's William Yoakley, that he's following on the course. Now you get an idea of how rough this thing is just from the way the camera is moving around. So imagine if that motorcycle with a camera is having that kind of a ride. What are those guys feeling up ahead? My gosh.
I tell you, it's great watching this because you get all the bumps and bangs without having to take the bruises on Monday.
So, Balance and Yoakley have moved out onto the motocross portion of this racetrack, and it's time now for one of them to assert maybe just a little bit of speed ability over the other.
Yeah, and we see Seegott there in third heat. Now, the neat part about the motocross track, he's right there. He gets to see these guys. He knows how far back he is, and now is when he can start maybe adjusting his pace to get back up with the front leaders.
We know Seegott is considerably faster because of motocross experience riding ATVs. Is he that much faster that it can be a factor in the race?
Well, for this race, it really could, because the motocross track is going to be the last thing they see at the end of the lap. So if he can get with the leaders and be there at the end of the day, he's got the ace in his hand right there.
Good point. That was Seegott that just flashed through. There is Smiley in fourth place, and we'll be back with more right after this. Hey, welcome back. Lap number 1 is just about history. We're looking at the rider in second place. That's William Yoakley. Out front of him is Bill Balance. And as we speak, there he is. Comes through the check. That yellow flag waving is a precautionary thing. They want to make sure the rider sees it and is able to slow down. Now, at various times today, these guys will pit when we get into that pit area for gas. Not the first time around by any means.
Yes, and there we have Jeff Seegott in third place going by. Matt Smiley's right behind him. These two, they kind of need to pick up the pace and get up with those front leaders.
They do indeed, and there's Chris Borich back in fifth. Well, we're going to take just a second to learn a little bit more about these riders, what makes them tick, and some of their personal life as we go to the Suzuki Rider Spotlight.
We grew up in the same town and kind of were high school sweethearts, and just went on from there, got married. Actually, she's pregnant now and going to have a baby in August, so looking forward to that.
We met actually in high school. I was like a senior, and bad enough I had an algebra class with her. She was like a freshman, so we met there, and I'd done graduate school, and we sort of just got together, running around town and stuff, and spent 5 or 6 years together, and finally got married and had a little girl. She's a 3-year-old now.
My wife's name's Autumn, and she ended up coming the same place I work, and we ended up meeting there, and our 5-year anniversary was yesterday.
Actually, she lived about 4 or 5 miles from where I grew up all of her life, and never even knew her until we were probably 16, 17, 18 years old, and just wound up seeing her one day, and she seen me one day, and we got to talking, and next thing we knew, just 5 or 6 years later, we're married.
And that was Bill Balance, and of course we're with Bill Balance on the racetrack. Can you imagine that, Mark? You go to your wife and say, honey, guess what I've got you for an anniversary present this year? We're going to a GNCC race. Oh, by the way, I'm riding. Huh?
Sounds good to me. I couldn't think of a better way to spend it.
Out on the flat track portion of the racetrack, and this is a time to generate some speed and high speed during cornering. Look at him get sideways. Look at him go around that corner. Look at that.
Boy, Balance is doing a job. He's opened up a little bit of a lead on William Yoakley here. And this course, I really like it. You can look, we've had the TT track, we've seen the motocross track. These woods are just in perfect condition. The riders are just having a blast out there.
The running order is balanced. Now there is Yoakley. We saw him in second place. And right behind comes Seegott running in the number 3 position. There's Seegott.
Yeah, he's picked it up a little bit. He gained some on the motocross track, just like we thought he would. Smiley, he's doing a nice job. I remember back in the Florida race, he said he couldn't wait to get to Georgia because he said this was going to be just what he needed.
And it's time for the Fox Sports Net Moto Cam, and let's see who he jumped in behind. That looked like Seegott, if I'm not mistaken. It is Seegott, I think, that he's following through the woods.
Yes, it is, and we'll watch Jeff through here because we keep talking about his motocross ability. Oh, you see, we had a couple different breaks and lines there, and that's what these four-wheelers really have to watch for on a course like this. It's going to be so tight, you just need all kinds of opportunities to pass on.
How in the world did they get that monstrous ATV between the trees? Look at that!
Boy, he is just going through there. We better start talking about his woods ability, not his motocross skills.
I think you're right. That guy is fast. Back up to the front of the pack, and Balance has now opened a gap over Yoakley. He's all alone in the lead.
Boy, yes, he is. And this could be bad news for these guys. You know, maybe this is why Barry Hawk went to motorcycles full-time, the way Balance is riding out there.
Hawk, the multi-time champion in ATV racing, now riding motorcycles. That's what Mark was referring to. The guy was almost unbeatable, and now he's, I wonder, maybe re-examining his priorities. Maybe we'll see him back in ATVs. Oh, I can't get over how fast these guys are able to go.
Yeah, in this course, like, I can't say enough about it. And here we have Chris Borich. Remember at the last race, he just got upset off the start, was way back, charged his way up. We'll see what he can do running with the front leaders from the get-go this time.
Conditioning has to be a huge factor. That's number one. And number two, you told me that bottlenecks in the woods can crop up at any time, and a guy could have a lead of 2, 3, 4 minutes, and zap, it's gone.
Especially on a track like this. You notice when we're in the woods, it's just so tight. Oh, here we have a battle. These two, this is something going on here. Kim Coonley and Johnny Gallagher. They're both almost neighbors back in Ohio, but Kim's, I think, is almost old enough to be Johnny's dad.
And this is a battle for second place. Seegott has caught Yoakley as he passed Yoakley. Seegott has gotten around Yoakley. Yoakley's dropped back to third. Seegott in second.
Boy, Seegott, he's wasting no time. Again, at the last race in Florida, he had that Kickstarter fall off while he was leading the race. And so I think he's got something to prove here.
Back up at the head of the pack. Behind him, the action is fast and furious. Well, it's just as fast and furious up here, but this guy doesn't care. Bill Balance wants to put as much distance between himself and the rest of the field as he possibly can. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if Seegott can close on Balance in the motocross section of the track.
Yeah, Seegott's doing a nice job. I can't believe he got by Yoakley that quick, because William at Florida just did a great job of, just battling Balance tooth and nail right to the end. So it'll be interesting what Seegott's got for him.
Well, it's called the Big Mo. You get a taste of success out on the racetrack, and you just keep going harder and harder and harder. That's the position that Seegott is in, and Balance has nothing, has no one to judge how fast he's going. He's all alone.
Boy, did you see that mud section he just went through? If that deteriorates any more like that, that is going to be an interesting section today.
Gee, what's the chances of it deteriorating more? It's going to be good. Hey, we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. The riders through the pits one more time. There's Bill Balance, and Jeff Seegott has moved to the rear of Balance. He has caught him, Mark.
Yes, he has. He's doing a great job out there. Just like we thought, the motocross track, that is his domain.
And he's not that far behind. Look at that look at that corner. He saved, I'll bet he knocked a full second. That was unbelievable. I just can't tell you how great that shot was. Look at that jump.
I cannot believe he doubled that thing on that quad.
And he's making a pass at the top of the hill. Balance, it looked like, in fact, he did. It looked like he moved right over. He just watched him on the downhill portion.
What Balance is doing here, he knows Seegott is just a tremendous motocrosser. He also knows the motocross track is at the end of the event. There's another double that he did.
I can't believe he's doing that. I just can't believe it. Well, Seegott has earned himself, I think, the CD Boot Thrill Seekers shot of the day with this jump. Look at this. Look at the air he gets. Oh!
Yeah, that four-wheeler weighs 325 pounds, and to jump that thing that far is just incredible. And what I was talking about earlier, Balance, you can see him looking over. He knows that the motocross track is Jeff's domain. So what he's going to do is just go to school on him here and now. This next double we have coming up, he's just going to watch the speed that Jeff uses and mimic that, and later in the race, he'll be able to do this same jump.
Meanwhile, back in the pits, this was his crew's reaction as they saw Seegott take that huge jump and make the pass, go into the lead on Balance. They are having fun. And while that was going on, we got Smiley coming through the pits. He's still holding down the number 4 position.
Yeah, Jeff's crew, they need some excitement after the disappointment they had down in Florida.
Back to the action with Jeff Seegott, the newly crowned leader, out front, being chased now by Bill Balance. I would think Seegott, well, you know he would. He wants to make up as much time here as he possibly can. because when they get into the woods, it's going to be a different story. He's not going to shake by any means, Bill Balance.
No, Bill is just going to be glued to his rear wheels. And the thing is, when you in the woods down here, they're so tight and technical, you have to be really close, because if he gets by a lapped rider, Balance wants to be right behind him so that lapped rider doesn't have a chance to pull in front of him and delay him. You can see right here how tight it is in there. And again, that lapped rider right there had a heck of a time getting out of their way.
We would point out that all of the riders out here that we are watching are not necessarily pro riders. They run several classes that start in the field after the pros take off. And what is happening now is the pros have completely lapped them.
Oh, look at what we have here. Kim Coonley and Chris Borich. They are going after it. Seems like Coonley, he's battling with all the young kids these days.
Now, Coonley is the oldest rider out there. I think he's in his 40s, if I'm not mistaken. And, oh, there goes Borich around the outside. Will he have enough? Can he hold it? And he did. Borich takes a spot away from Coonley. Boy, he had to work hard to get that one.
Yes, he did, and he did a nice job coming onto that flat track. He took the high line, but that put him in perfect position going into the woods.
And here's Balance giving chase to Seegott. And here comes Yoakley. Now, Yoakley has closed the gap. Now, these are back markers on the course. We talked about them, and here come the two guys, first and second. Look how much faster they are coming down that hill. Almost out of control, Mark.
No, they're in control. For guys like you and me, it would be out of control.
Well, at least for me, you've done this stuff before. From the MotoCam, the Fox Sports Net MotoCam, look at them pick off the lapped riders.
You know, and it's cool for the lapped riders. Even though they're getting lapped and the leaders holler at them from time to time, they can go back and tell their buddies, Matt Smiley ran me over. Bill Balance took me out.
He didn't take him out to buy him a Coke either. He just flat knocked him out of the way.
Oh, usually that's not the case, but these guys just have a great time riding with it, and it's a great learning experience. You take a guy like this, and he's out there cruising around, and then he sees Balance and Yoakley do something, he's like, hey, I can do that.
Well, it's not like, say, NASCAR, when you can't get out there and tangle with. All you have to do is buy yourself an ATV, and you can get in. You could be doing this next week, folks.
Yeah, and they even have the utility class, so you can get the one out of your garage. You can be out here with Balance.
Speaking of Balance, there he goes, a section of the motocross track. And Yoakley has continued to close. This is the battle for second place. This is the guy that is in third right now. That's William Yoakley.
I wonder, by Seegott being out front, I wonder if his woods pace has slowed up a little bit, and that let
Whoa!
Yoakley get...
Did you see that jump? Did you see that? Hey, we got more of the same coming up. Stick with us. Hey, welcome back to GNCC Racing, presented by Suzuki, coming to you from Paradise Park, and that's near Macon, Georgia. Hey, let's take a look at some of the highlights of the race action so far.
Yeah, we see Seegott's out front, Balance is in second, but Balance, when he was out front by himself, he had the fastest lap time of the day, and we only have 2 laps to go.
And that means, I think it means, we're going to see some fuel probably being taken on by the riders at this lap. When they come in this time through the barrels, through the checkpoint, they will. And here comes right now Jeff Seegott. Watch that fuel go in.
Yeah, he had some problems pitting in Florida, so I think the crew's had some time. It looks like they're doing a lot better. They are in a hurry. He's got goggles, gas, and he is gone.
What did he take, about 3-4 gallons of fuel, would you guess, at that point?
They'll take about 2.5 to 3 gallons of fuel.
Bob Walker is in the pits with Balance.
Pulling into the number 2 spot, Billy Balance. He's 24 seconds off the pace. They're fueling him up. They're putting water on him. William Yoakley's also come in. He's in the 3rd spot, just a second behind Billy Balance. They got a lot of ground to make up here. They're pulling a 24-second deficit from Jeff Seegott.
And Seegott with that uphill jump again. My guess is picked up another 5 seconds. I'll tell you, that is amazing to me.
I think he's up to at least a 30-second lead, and we haven't even been a half mile from the pitch yet.
Watch this. Now watch this. Here comes another one. Look at him launch that thing. My gosh. Let's go back to Bob Walker in Seegott's pits.
Jeff, your rider strung out a 24-second lead there on that lap.
Yeah, he's out there a good bit right now. We got 2 laps to go, so let's see what it does from here on in.
Does he have the physical conditioning?
Yeah, Jeff's in real good shape. I don't have a problem with him being in shape. He's running strong.
Strong indeed. He has the lead and has had it for the better part of the last couple of laps. As we'll see how he's doing with our Fox Sports Net. moto cam.
What Jeff has to do here, he has to make sure he's real aggressive with the lappers and gets by them quick so he can preserve that lead. Because if he doesn't, those guys will be on him very quickly.
Is there a contrast between the style of Seegott and Balance?
Yeah, Balance, he just seems to be charging a lot harder in the woods. When he comes up on lap riders, you can hear him screaming at him before he even gets there.
I notice our moto cam rider is taking shortcuts.
Oh, that guy, he's just trying to give the viewers the best possible view at home there.
Look at this. There are, oh, look at, that's it. We saw that once before. They were racing through that section. There are alternate lines there that a rider can conceivably maybe shave just a little bit. As long as you stay within 25 foot of the trail in GNCC racing, it's okay. You can make those moves, and it is not cheating at all. The trail, in other words, is like 50 foot wide from side to side.
Yeah, and when you have quads out there racing, you have to have some room to get around the guys. And he needs to, like I said, take advantage of some of these alternate lines to keep around those lappers and keep these two behind him.
And the battle for second has definitely heated up, and here comes Matt Smiley. He's running in the number 4 position, but Matt is back quite a ways from Balance and from Yoakley, who are fighting for second, and there's our leader, Jeff Seegott, out of the woods, right back in, and Yoakley has ridden directly into the pits.
Yeah, and the right side of his handlebars is missing.
Snapped it right off. That's the problem right there. Now, Bob Walker is there, and he's caught up with William Yoakley. Let's hear what happened.
William, what happened out there?
I was just going along, and handlebar just snapped off as I come over her eyes. I wrecked and got up and got it out of the weeds and got it back.
You're going to be able to go back out there?
Yeah, I guess so.
There we are in the Team Green pits with William Yoakley.
Yeah, very disappointed, William Yoakley. You see his eyes, Mark. I know this has happened to you. They're trying to change the bars there, folks. That's what we're looking at. This has happened to you. What does it do to a guy?
Oh, it just, because he had such a great ride in Florida, it's really got to bother him because he was right with the lead group, right where he needed to be. But what I really liked there was those Team Green guys. They were all over that thing getting it fixed. So William's not going to have a lot of time to sit and drown on his sorrows.
Our moto cam following Jeff Seegott. Oh, and Seegott, there's one of the bottlenecks that we talked about. This is a chance for Balance to catch up. And here comes Balance. Now, Balance has no idea at this point what lies ahead of him. But, boy, look at him trying to get, wow, did he paced that guy. He wants to go over the top.
He is so excited right now, and he just feels helpless because he's got all these quads in his way. These guys are running around trying to pull each other out of the way, and he's just seeing that lead he has evaporate.
Seegott will try to get around the bottleneck. Will he make it? Stick with us. Welcome back. Mark, Bill Balance got around that bottleneck. In the process, he took over the front runner's position. He's back in front. He's in the lead, and that's going to put this guy, Jeff Seegott, in second place.
One of the things I always tell people when they're learning how to ride, vision is the most important thing when you're riding, looking up the trail. Bill was able to look up there, see that bottleneck. He got around it. Unfortunately for Jeff Seegott, because he doesn't ride woods as often as Bill does, he got stuck in it, and Balance is back in front.
Bottom line, good for Balance, bad for Seegott, but that's GNCC racing, Mark.
Yes, it is. And now Bill has to avoid what Seegott just got himself into. He's got to be aggressive with those lap riders, but not make the mistake where he gets in too much trouble. You can hear him yelling at him right there to get out of my way. I'm coming through.
And that guy moved over, didn't he? He got out of his way. He'd have been traction otherwise. Here's Yoakley. Yoakley in 18th place, so he got the bar fixed and back out on the track running. And he's hoping to salvage a couple points out of this.
And here we see Jeff. He's finally out of that mud hole and trying to make up some ground on Balance. I don't know if he's got enough time left, though.
Boy, he is moving. He is really, look at that. He is on the gas. I don't think we've seen him ride that hard all day.
Boy, and he's got Balance nervous. You saw Bill, his head was on a swivel there. He's looking for somebody.
Well, he's looking probably for Seegott, wondering where he is. And look at that. Look at that pass. Wow, he took 2 trees. Did you see those 2 trees?
I think he thinks he's riding a bulldozer, not a 4-wheeler.
Man, oh man. You know, this is private ground, so they tear it up, and the guy just goes out with a dozer and fixes it for the next go around. So all the environmentalists that are out there, don't write us letters. They're just tearing up stuff that some guy owns.
Yeah, and speaking of tearing up, Brad Page is doing a nice job. And here we have Jeff Seegott. He got stuck for a while, but now he's moving up, and he needs to really get after it because they don't have a lot of time left.
Now, earlier in the race, we pointed out an area of the track called the Thunderdome where there was a huge puddle. Well, guess what it's become? The Mudder Dome.
Yeah, when we talked earlier about the B&C riders getting to ride with their heroes, look at these guys. That guy's going to be a week cleaning that thing up.
But you notice the heroes go around the outside. They don't go through that. What possesses a guy to ride into that hole? The horns on his head?
I think it's being a B&C rider. Those A riders, this is where you need to learn, and you can say, hey, I was stuck in this mud hole. Balance come by me, didn't even go in there. But you know what? Good thing I was blocking that hole, or Balance would be in there.
Oh, look at the mess he's got.
Oh, geez, look at this guy. He didn't even get to the mud hole, and he's struggling.
He did. He's created one of those bottlenecks, though, because behind him there's a long line of riders, my guess would be. back to the front of the pack, and Bill Balance is really now extending his lead. I think he is. The way he is riding, he is just all over the racetrack and has not turned the throttle off. Look, that corner. Remember earlier how wide he went around that thing? You were right. He has learned something about motocross from following Seegott, and he is applying it right here. He is going much faster on this track than he did earlier.
You know, that's a sign of a true champion. You know your weaknesses, you know your strengths, and you always try to work on those weaknesses. He did that earlier in the race, and now he's just putting the hammer down. Oh, look at him. He's doing a great job now.
Do you call that styling?
Oh, he is just going, and he's having a blast out there. And now, too, he can get out in the open. I know the pit crew's telling him where he's at, but now he can get a good visual back. He can see where Seegott's at, if he can see him at all. And if he can't see him at all, then he'll really have a good feeling.
It's all a part of learning to be a champion, and he is our defending champion. You always learn. You keep on learning, don't you?
Oh, you never stop, because when you stop learning, that's when you stop winning.
Great downhill. Look at that machine fly. Bill Balance doing it the fast way around this motocross track. Wow. And here's Seegott. If Seegott could have seen Balance, he would have said, oh my, I might as well give up right now. Because Seegott still thinks he's making up ground on him, and I don't think he is anymore.
He might be making up a little bit of ground. I mean, he's still a little smoother, a little faster on the motocross track, but there's just not enough of that. I mean, this is a cross-country series, and Bill Balance is a cross-country rider.
He is indeed. Oh,
man.
If he had wings, that baby never would have touched down.
I think he heard you telling him he wasn't making up time.
White flag is out for Bill Balance, who has cleared the check now. There is one lap to go. That's what that means as we watch Matt Smiley, and Matt gets airborne there.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Matt. Florida, he was by himself all day. Here in Georgia, he's by himself all day, and he's been third in both of them so far. I mean, he's third now. If he can stay there, he'll have two good third-place finishes, but I know that's not what he wanted.
In fifth place, Chris Borage, rider number 14, has company. That's Rob Hertz, I think, right behind. And boy, he's giving fits to Borage out of the racetrack. Pulls alongside. There's not room out there to do that. Not room at all. He was trying to make it 2 lanes wide, and there's only room for 1. Here comes Matt Smiley. He'll be putting the lap into the book. That's a lapped rider. He waves Smiley by. Smiley says, thank you very much, and you be sure to come back. Hey, welcome back to GNCC ATV Racing. We are on the final lap. Bill Balance is the leader, followed by Seegott, Smiley, and Page. Of interest there is the fact that Seegott was all alone out front. He got bound up in a bottleneck. Balance was able to go by, and now he has control of this place, or this race rather, and it's up to Seegott whether or not he can catch up. He's some 36 seconds behind. Balance is not going to wait for him.
No, he's not. And as we get a good look here from the moto cam, Balance, he looked like he had a pretty clear trail, and if you're on the last lap of a race, you really want to see that if you're in his position. If he can keep this going and catch the lapped riders in open sections where he can get by quick, Seegott's going to have a very difficult time catching him.
Clear trail is full of trees.
Well, I meant clear trail is in no lap traffic.
I understand. He's making the most of it. He is in, I guess what you'd call an ideal position for someone that's in that position. He doesn't have to, only against himself is he riding now and against the trail. Doesn't have to worry about the competition.
Yes, and we've seen from the Florida race, Bill doesn't tend to make mistakes. And you know that comes from winning races and winning championships. So it's really up to the other guys to make something happen.
Well, the other guys could be lapped riders, don't forget. That's what happened to Seegott, and that's what is going to be interesting from this point on, how the guy out front, Bill Balance, reacts to that, how he treats it, because this race is a long way from being over.
Well, that's the great thing about cross-country racing. I mean, there's lap traffic out there, there's mud holes, stuff will come up that you never even thought was going to happen. And boy, Seegott, he's doing his best to get around here quick and get at least close enough so Balance really has to think about him.
Well, I'll guarantee this. I'll guarantee you that Seegott has not given up. Oh, look at this. Look at this move on the part of Balance. He shortcut that corner, disposed of a lapped rider before he got into the tight woods. Boy, you have to do it that way, don't you?
Yeah, you could hear him hollering coming down that hill. He wants those lapped riders because he knows that section coming up was tight. He had a little gap to get by a guy, and he took advantage of it.
We were back to third place there momentarily. Now we're up to second with Seegott. Seegott took that same fast line, shortcut that corner. You know that he has not given up. He thinks this race still has 4 days to run, and he's going to catch it, by gosh.
Well, from the things we've seen happen today, it's not over till we get to that flag. And you see Balance, he's coming out here. He's got a bunch of lap riders behind him, so those guys are going to be in Seegott's way.
This is the final lap as Smiley clears that same section, that same road crossing with no riders between himself and Seegott running into second, so he has a clear trail also. It's all up to what Balance does at the head of the pack. Seegott running in second, has made up some time. He's just 24 seconds down now. He has made up, 12 seconds.
Yes, and we're only about 3 miles into the course, so at that rate, he could be right on Balance come motocross time.
Ah, that could be interesting. Could be interesting.
Yeah, there was the 3 mile marker I saw on that tree right there. So Balance, if he doesn't hustle, he's going to have lots of company here real soon.
He is indeed. Now remember, Balance is through this section. We're waiting now for Seegott, who is like 24 seconds behind. Is that him, Mark?
Yeah, I think that's him coming down the hill right here.
There's Seegott. He has given it everything he's got. Like I said, he has not given up. He has no idea at this point exactly where Balance is.
I'm sure his pit crew has gotten out there in a few spots, and they've told him that he is making up time, and he has to keep going because from his own experience, he knows that something can happen really quick.
We saw Brad Page, who is back in 4th place.
Then we have Matt Smiley. Matt still going after it. Like I said, he's been riding by himself, but he's been riding good.
He has been. He clears lap riders, and Smiley is in a secure 3rd place right now, while Balance works into the Thunderdome. Let's see if he goes through that deep mud section. My guess is he's going to avoid that.
And we saw him coming down into that section. He was behind that lapped rider, and that cost him some time. And if he gets enough of those, you can see his head. He is looking for Seegott. And when a guy's doing that, you know he's had some problems a little ways back, because if he was riding well, he wouldn't worry about looking back.
We saw him skirt around the edge of the mud hole. He went up the hill, dives back down the bottom, and here comes Seegott in 2nd place. He'll negotiate that same terrain, and because it is, woodsy-like in terms of how rough it is, my guess is he'll not make up the same amount of time that he would have if it was completely dry and unrutted.
Well, I don't like those goggles hanging on the side of his bike for 2 reasons. One, for the eye protection, but more importantly, when a guy takes his goggles off and takes the time to hang them on his handlebars, that's not a good sign. He's not charging at that point in time.
Up the hill, down the hill, and Seegott clears that section of the track and heads for the final checkpoint, which of course is home. Here comes Smiley now. He's in the same portion of the racetrack. You get some kind of idea as to how far these guys are away from each other.
Yes, and we see Smiley here again. He's got to be disappointed with himself, and he really needs to work on it. We had a very short time between the Florida race and this race, so he needs to take these next couple weeks off and really focus on his training and get the speed up to contend with Balance.
Speaking of speed and of Balance, he's on the motocross track, headed for home. He's still letting it hang out.
Well, you have got to be impressed with Bill. We had the Okeechobee, Florida race. It was just a dogfight between him and Yoakley. And here, a completely different track, totally different situations, and he really dominated this race.
Mark, what it takes to dominate in any GNCC race is being able to master all the terrain. And that's one of the fine things about GNCC racing. I mean, you've got hard pack, you've got mud, you've got trees, you've got motocross, you've got everything, hills, up and down, you got to go over or through it. If this had been mostly a motocross track, we know that Balance would have had his hands full and probably not scored the victory that he just did.
Yes, and he really didn't dominate until the very last lap. He was hung around with the lead group, and then he waited for the other guys to make some mistakes, which is exactly what happened in Florida. It seems like when that big number 1 plate is behind these guys, they tend to make mistakes.
You know what? They've got to do this 11 more times this year, so we're going to see more of the same as the season stretches on. And here, he has not get the race is as good as over, and would you look at him still hanging it out? Seegott is finishing just as hard as he possibly can.
Yeah, Jeff, he had a great day today. I mean, he can't hang his head. He's got to build on this. I mean, this was a woods track. I mean, even though there was a great motocross section, it was only a 1/10 of the whole course. And for him to push Bill that hard, that long, he's got to be happy.
Happy and sorrowful at the same time. Bill Balance is the winner. When we come back, we'll spray the champagne and hear the winner's story. GNCC Racing has been brought to you by Suzuki, by CD Boots, and by Honda with deals to move on. Welcome back to GNCC Racing, presented by Suzuki. Just about set for victory celebration, but out on the track, the field continues to ride in. Here comes Yoakley. Remember, he was in the pits with a broken handlebar, went back out on the track and worked up to 12th. Meanwhile, Bob Walker is standing by in the pits with our winner, Bill Balance.
I'm here with round 2 winner, Billy Balance. This is the first time you've won. How does it feel?
You know, it's good coming out here and winning at this track for the first time. You know, I've been out here and been runner-up before, and I'm in second and third before, but it's always good to come into a certain track and win for the first time.
Now, what happened to you out there on that pass on lap 2?
You know, I'd pulled away on the start and got a good lead, and we got in the bottleneck, and everybody caught back up with me, and I thought, you know, well, maybe I need to just relax for a lap or two and let Jeff lead for a lap or two. So I eased over on the motocross, and he went by, and I just stayed behind him, rode smart, and conserved my energy until the end, and got around and pulled away for the win.
Take a look at the way they finished in round 2 at Macon, Georgia. Balance, Seegott, Smiley, Page. The racing was so good up front. There's Yoakley, by the way. He finished in 12th place, and Borage dropped all the way to 16th on that last lap. Let's go back to Bob Walker.
I'm here with second place finisher Jeff Seegott. Jeff, what happened out there after the lead?
Oh, when we pulled the whole shot, I was running about 5th place, and being that this is the first time here for me, I was pretty stoked about a 5th place start. I just wanted to just kind of maintain my race, but next thing I know, things were given to me. There were a couple bottlenecks here, and fortunately, I got around the 4 guys, and next thing I know, I was leading. I pulled away like 30 seconds, and then that luck turned around for me, and then I got stuck in a bottleneck, and Balance and Yoakley found a way behind or in front of me, and they took off, and then from there, it just was a race. I just set on a cruise control and went.
Here are the point standings after 2 rounds of racing. Let's go back to Bob Walker, who's caught up with Smiley.
Matt, you won here in 1999. What's it going to take to beat Bill Balance this year?
Well, Bill's riding real good. Conditioning is excellent. He's got to go home and try and condition a little bit better and just ride. And hopefully everything will come together.
What were the riding conditions like?
It was tight, a lot of one-line sections. You got behind some slow guys riding in a group, kind of slowed you down quite a bit. You know, Bill got away, and it was hard catching back up.
Mark, they're going to spray the champagne. Final thoughts from your side of the fence.
I really like what Bill Balance has done in these first 2 rounds. 2 totally different tracks, and yet he's won them both. And he had to find different ways to win them, too.
I like the fact that there have been 2 different challengers in the last 2 rounds to Bill Balance. And I think that's going to make for a great, great series as the season drags on. Hey, on behalf of my broadcast partner, Mark Hyde, and down in the pits, Bob Walker, I'm Larry Myers. So long, everyone. We'll see you next week.